Hi, it's Mr. Benson here on behalf of the Year 7 Maths team with a lesson video on angles. So in this video we're going to be looking at the types of angles and naming angles. I'm going to be making a whole series of these videos to go through the measurement and geometry topic, and hopefully you'll be able to use these if you're at home to just assist your understanding. You might also like to use these to actually write your notebooks or references. Just as you're going through, feel free to pause it and take notes or anything like that. Everything that I'm doing is straight out of the textbook, so if you can look at your textbook, either the hard copy or on Jack Plus, you'll see everything in there as well. So in each of these videos, I'm just going to have a page where I detail where it is in the text. So this is 5.4, which starts on page 159, and the required knowledge and skills, which is essentially, a learning intention. So what we would like you to understand at the end of this. So what we're talking about, particularly in this one, is recognizing different types of angles and being able to name angles. And on this as well, we're going to list some exercises that you can complete out of the text. So I've got a standard set and some extension stuff, which is a little bit harder. But feel free to discuss with your teachers what's appropriate stuff for you to be doing. So, throw us an email if you ever need to ask a little bit more about it. So what have we looked at so far? We've looked at the idea of what we mean by angles. So angles are formed where two lines meet. So here's a line, here's another line. Now where they meet is called the vertex. Each of the lines or line segments that's meeting we call the arms of the angle, and then the angle is what's formed in between the arms at the vertex, and often we see the angle given this symbol theta, so that's a Greek letter, and it's used for angles in lots of situations. You'll certainly come across that one later on, even if we don't use it as much in Year 7. Angles are measured in degrees. Now a circle is divided up into 360 degrees, so obviously smaller angles will be a smaller number. The size of an angle is written as a number followed by the degree symbol. And usually if we want to talk about things that are not whole numbers of degrees, we're just going to write a decimal, although later on you will also learn that there are other ways of representing parts of a degree. So classifying angles. When we're classifying angles, we separate them into different types. Now this is depending on the size of the angle, not the size of the figure itself or anything like that. So we're really interested in the angle in here, and it doesn't matter actually how big our objects are. So you could have something in the middle here that is a right angle, you could have a much smaller right angle, and they're still both right angles. So it's just the angle itself that we're interested in. So starting off, now these definitions are things that, look, you'll definitely probably know some already, others you'll come to know, but I would suggest with these that you always just record them in your notebook, and when it comes to doing assessments and stuff, just make sure that you've got them and examples of them on your reference sheets, just because they're the kind of things that it's not always easy to remember every single definition, and so if you've got them there in front of you, that's helpful. So starting off with our first type of angle is the acute angle, which is greater than 0 but less than 90. So we really want to know the difference between acute angles and other kinds of angles. So the right angle is exactly equal to 90 degrees, and right angles have their own symbol, which you've probably come across previously as well. So this is the little square essentially in the vertex of the angle there. It tells you that it's a right angle even if the number isn't written. Obtuse angles, greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Straight angles are when the two arms form a 180 degree angle, so essentially they're forming a straight line. Reflex angles are greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. And lastly, we have a revolution or a perigon. Now, revolution, because we're doing a full circle, so our angle is exactly 360 degrees. So those terms that we've just learned, and like I suggest, put them on your formula sheet, your reference sheets for tests with examples, so that even if you don't remember them, you've got them there in front of you to refer to. They just allow us to communicate a little bit more easily when we're talking about the sizes of angles, and also that the angles that we've classified in the same way are going to have similar properties that will become important later on as well. Another idea that we need to think about is complementary angles. So angles which add up to 90 degrees are complementary. And another way of describing this is that each angle is the complement of the other angle. So here's one angle, here's a second angle. We can bring those together and see that they are complementary because they add up to form a right angle, which would be here. And let's say this angle here was 60 degrees, then this angle here would be 30 degrees because they both have to add up to 90. And we would say, let's say this was called angle A and this was called angle B, then we could say that angle B was the complement of A, or we could also say that angle A was the complement of B. Okay, similarly we have supplementary angles. So angles which add up to 180 degrees are called supplementary angles, and much the same as we saw with the complements, each angle is the supplement of the other angle. So let's have a look at two angles again. We can bring them together and see that they form a straight angle. So we've got 180 degrees here, and going again with the idea that this one is 60 degrees, that would make this angle 120 degrees, angle A and B. They add up to 180, and we would say that B is the supplement, of A, and that A is the supplement of B. Now, naming angles is just another important thing that we can do so that we can talk about angles in a way that's really clear, especially if we're looking at situations where there might be lots of angles in the same example or the same diagram. So start off with an angle. Now, we've got an angle that's made up of line segments, and the line segments end at particular points, and so we're often going to label those, and in this case I'm just going ABC, but it could be XYZ, it could be absolutely anything at all. So ends of line segments are labeled with a letter. Now when we're writing the angle, we write the angle symbol first. So the angle symbol is this thing that looks a little bit like an L, but it's a bit more lent over there. So that's our angle symbol. Then we write the label of one arm, so I'm going to go with A first. Then we write the label of the vertex, and then we write the label of the other arm. So, and that would be called angle ABC because it's the angle that's formed when we go from point A to point B to point C. You could call that CBA as well, and it would be exactly the same because you're talking about the same angle, and there's no confusion there. So yes, the angle would be angle ABC. Okay, so in summary, we have that angles are classified, and so they're named based on the size of the angle. For the classifications that you don't remember, just make sure that you put those in your notebook and then have that handy for when you're doing exercises. And when it comes to doing assessments, just make sure that you've got a good reference sheet with this information on it. Complementary angles add to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add to 180 degrees. And angles are named based on the points that form the angle and using the angle symbol. So as we saw in our previous example, if you've got, now I'll shake things up a bit here, so we've got some points called X, Y and Z, and our Y is at our vertex of the angle here, so this would be called angle X, Y, Z, or if you wanted to be contrary, you could call it angle Z, Y, X and fine. Okay, now you should start to attempt some of the exercises that we've suggested at the start of this video. Now, when you are doing that, what you should do is check your answers frequently. So every 3 to 4 questions, go to the end of the chapter and mark yourself whether you're getting things correct or not. Then, if you're getting everything right, keep going. You may even want to skip ahead to things that are a little bit more challenging. If you're making mistakes, there's a couple of things to do. One is practice some more. So say you are only doing every second question from a set of problems, maybe go back and do the ones that you hadn't attempted already. But you also need to try and figure out what mistakes you are making. So if you can't figure it out, what's a really good thing to do is to ask your classmates first. Because if you can teach each other and assist each other in this sort of way, it's actually really beneficial to everyone's understanding of how we approach these particular problems. Obviously, if that doesn't work, then email your teachers or ask your teachers in some way, and we'll help you with those problems.